TIFU by accidentally implying I thought my coworker had a contagious disease during a crucial company presentation. I work in a relatively small office. There are about 20 of us total. I am on the sales team. This story happened last week, during what we call Q3 kickoff. It is basically a 2-day meeting where we go over the previous quarter's performance and discuss strategies for the coming quarter. It is important for everyone to be present and engaged. My boss takes it very seriously. We all traveled to the conference location together. It was about an hour drive. Most people took the company shuttle. I drove myself because I had some personal errands to run after the meeting concluded each day. I arrived early on the first day and grabbed a coffee in the hotel lobby before heading up to the conference room. I wanted to make sure I was awake and alert. My boss gets annoyed when people are late or unprepared. I made sure to bring my laptop and notebook. I needed to take notes during the presentations. The sales numbers from last quarter were not good. I knew my boss would be stressed about it. He would probably be more critical of us than usual. I was prepared to listen carefully to what he had to say and take action on his feedback. I hoped this kickoff would be productive. I wanted to end the year strong and meet my sales goals. The kickoff meeting was being held in a conference room at a fancy hotel downtown. The hotel had nice amenities. The conference room was large and well equipped. There was a projector, a large screen, and a fancy sound system. They also provided snacks and drinks throughout the day. I arrived early on the first day to secure a good seat. I generally prefer to sit near the back so I can have a good view of the presentation but also not be directly in the line of sight of my boss. I managed to snag a seat at a table near the back corner of the room. I set my bag down and took out my laptop to get settled. I wanted to appear busy in case my boss walked by and saw me just sitting there. I opened up my email and started deleting some of the junk I had accumulated over the weekend. I always get a ton of promotional emails and newsletters that I never signed up for. It takes a good 15 minutes just to clear them out. I checked the presentation schedule to see what would be covered in the morning session. The first presentation seemed relevant to my current project, so I made a note to pay close attention. More people began to enter the room, and the tables started filling up. I recognized people from different departments and nodded in acknowledgement as they passed by. I saw an empty seat at my table get filled. As people started filing in, I noticed that one of my coworkers, we can call her Sarah, looked a little under the weather. She had a runny nose and was coughing a bit. I did not think too much of it at the time. I assumed she was just dealing with a minor cold or allergies. The meeting started promptly at 9 a.m. My boss gave an opening speech. He talked about our successes in the last quarter and outlined his expectations for the next. He is very motivational. He is also very demanding. After his speech, various team members gave presentations on different aspects of our sales strategy. The presentations continued for several hours. Each person had prepared slides and talking points. I found some of them interesting. Some of them were less relevant to my specific role. I took notes during the presentations that seemed important for my work. I also checked my email occasionally when the presentations were not directly related to my projects. My boss seemed pleased with the overall progress of the meeting. He made positive comments after each presentation. He encouraged people to ask questions and engage in discussion. He likes to see participation. The meeting took a short break for lunch around noon. I went to the cafeteria with a few of my colleagues. We talked about the presentations and other work-related topics. Sarah did not join us for lunch. I saw her sitting alone at her desk. She looked unwell. I considered asking her if she needed anything. I decided that it was best not to bother her. I assumed she would let someone know if she needed assistance. I went back to the meeting room after lunch. I was ready for the afternoon session. Sarah was scheduled to give a presentation on lead generation in the afternoon. As the morning progressed, her condition seemed to worsen. She was sniffling and coughing more frequently. I began to feel a little concerned. I was sitting relatively close to her, and I did not want to catch whatever she had. During the lunch break, I went to a nearby pharmacy and bought a small bottle of hand sanitizer. I figured it could not hurt to be extra cautious. I returned to the conference room and applied the hand sanitizer liberally. I also wiped down my table and chair. After sanitizing my area, I felt a little better, although still on edge. I made sure not to touch my face and avoided getting too close to anyone else. I also decided I would skip the afternoon coffee break to further minimize my exposure. I just wanted to get through the rest of the day without catching whatever was going around. I reminded myself that I had a lot to do when I got back home and being sick would only make things harder. I was careful to maintain a safe distance between myself and Sarah when she returned. I hoped she was not contagious, but I could not be sure. I also worried about the other people in the room. They were all potential sources of infection. I considered putting on a mask, but I did not have one with me. I resolved to buy a pack of masks on my way home, just in case. When Sarah returned from lunch, she sat down next to me. She was holding a box of tissues. She looked even more miserable than she had in the morning. I felt bad for her, but I was still worried about getting sick. As she settled in, she looked at me and said that she felt terrible. She explained that she thought she was developing a bad cold. I offered her a sympathetic nod. I also subtly scooted my chair a little further away from her. I asked if she wanted some tea or something. She declined and said she just needed to rest. I suggested she maybe shouldn't attend the afternoon session. I knew that Sarah was giving a presentation. She insisted that she was fine and that she wouldn't miss Sarah's presentation for anything. I didn't push it any further. I figured it was her decision to make. I hoped she wasn't contagious, though. I had a busy week coming up. I couldn't afford to get sick. The afternoon session began, and it was finally Sarah's turn to present. She stood up and walked to the front of the room. She began her presentation, but it was clear that she was struggling. Her voice was hoarse, and she kept pausing to cough. The afternoon session began, and it was finally Sarah's turn to present. She stood up and walked to the front of the room. She began her presentation, but it was clear that she was struggling. Her voice was hoarse, and she kept pausing to cough. About 5 minutes into her presentation, she had a particularly bad coughing fit. She had to stop completely and grab a tissue to cover her mouth. She apologized to the audience and said she needed a moment. I felt bad for her. I could tell she was struggling to get through the presentation. I wondered if she should even continue, but it wasn't my place to say. People in the audience shifted in their seats and made quiet noises. The presenter took a sip of water and then cleared her throat. She stated that she felt a little better and would try to finish. She apologized again for the interruption and then resumed where she had left off. I didn't think much about my own actions at that moment. I was more focused on her obvious discomfort. My hands felt a little sticky from the previous application of sanitizer. It's just a habit I have. I use it frequently. I carry a small bottle everywhere with me. It makes me feel cleaner, even though I understand it doesn't eliminate all germs. At that exact moment, I had the bright idea to pull out my bottle of hand sanitizer and use it again. I thought I was being discreet, but apparently, I was not. As I squirted the sanitizer into my hands and rubbed them together, I made eye contact with Sarah. Her expression changed immediately. It was a mix of shock and hurt. I realized in that instant how my actions must have looked. I had essentially implied that I thought she was contagious and that I was trying to protect myself from her germs. I tried to explain. I told her I did not mean it like that. I said I was just being cautious because I had a big meeting coming up. I mentioned that I could not afford to get sick. I hated how it sounded even as the words left my mouth. It all came out wrong. I just made it worse. It sounded like I valued my work more than her feelings. It was not what I meant at all. I value her a lot. I braced myself for what she might say. I expected anger. I thought she might yell. I would have understood if she did. Instead, she just looked down. She did not say a word. The silence stretched on. It felt heavy and uncomfortable. I wanted to take back what I said. I wanted to rewind time. I wanted to fix this. The room went silent. Everyone was looking at me. I could feel my face turning red. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. Sarah managed to regain her composure and continue her presentation. However, I could tell that she was still upset. Her voice was shaky, and she avoided making eye contact with me for the rest of her talk. I felt guilty about what happened. I knew Sarah had worked hard on that presentation, and I might have ruined it for her. The last thing I wanted to do was make her feel bad. It's just that I am a bit of a germaphobe, and I get anxious about these things. I wish I had handled it differently. Maybe I should have waited until she was finished to use the hand sanitizer. I wondered if she even heard my apology. She did not say much in response. Sarah just nodded and walked away from me. I hoped she would not hold a grudge. I value our working relationship, and I would not want this incident to damage it. Maybe I will bring her a coffee tomorrow and try to talk to her again. I will try to make it clear that I respect her work and I did not mean to disrespect her in any way. After her presentation, there was a short break. I knew I had to apologize to Sarah. I walked up to her and told her that I was sorry if I had offended her with my hand sanitizer. I explained that I was just being cautious because I did not want to get sick before an important meeting next week. She listened to my apology, but she did not seem convinced. She said it was fine, but her tone was cold. I could tell that she was still hurt. I felt terrible for upsetting her. I did not mean for things to go that way. I wanted to explain myself better. I did not think it would help. I decided to just give her some space. Maybe she would feel better later. I hoped she would understand eventually. I went back to my desk and tried to focus on work. It was difficult to concentrate. I replayed the conversation in my head. I worried about what she would do. I did not want this to affect our work relationship. I needed to find a way to fix this. I just did not know how. The rest of the afternoon was incredibly awkward. I tried to avoid Sarah as much as possible. I felt like everyone in the room was judging me. I was sure that my boss was giving me disapproving looks. The next day of the kickoff meeting was even worse. Sarah continued to give me the cold shoulder. I tried to engage her in conversation, but she would only give me short, curt responses. I felt anxious about working with her. I worried that her behavior would affect our ability to complete the project successfully. I tried to understand why she was acting this way, but I could not figure it out. I thought maybe I had done something to offend her, but I did not know what it could be. The tension between us made it difficult to concentrate on my work. I considered talking to our manager about the situation, but I hesitated. I did not want to seem like I was complaining or causing trouble. I decided to try ignoring Sarah and focus on the project itself. I threw myself into my tasks and tried to avoid any unnecessary interaction with her. This strategy worked for a little while, but it did not eliminate the underlying problem. I still felt uncomfortable and distracted by her presence. I could not shake the feeling that everyone was noticing the tension between us. The situation was uncomfortable and awkward. During the lunch break, I overheard some of my coworkers talking about the incident. They were laughing and making jokes about how I had overreacted to Sarah's cold. I felt even more embarrassed. The meeting finally ended, and I was relieved to leave. I went straight home and replayed the whole situation in my head. I realized that I had handled it poorly. I should have been more sensitive to Sarah's feelings. I decided to send Sarah an email to apologize again. I wrote a heartfelt message expressing my regret for my actions. I explained that I did not mean to imply that she was contagious and that I was simply trying to be cautious. To my surprise, Sarah responded to my email. She said that she appreciated my apology. She admitted that she had been feeling insecure about being sick during the presentation. She said that my actions had amplified her anxiety. She also said that she understood that I did not mean to be offensive. She said that we could put the incident behind us and move on. I was relieved to hear that she was willing to forgive me. However, the damage was already done. My reputation in the office had taken a hit. People still made jokes about the hand sanitizer incident. I became known as the germaphobe. My boss also seemed to view me differently. He did not say anything directly, but I could sense a change in his demeanor. He seemed less enthusiastic about my ideas and suggestions. I have learned a valuable lesson from this experience. I have learned that it is important to be mindful of how my actions might affect others. I have also learned that it is better to err on the side of caution when it comes to expressing concerns about someone's health. I am still working on repairing my reputation in the office. I am trying to be more friendly and approachable. I am also trying to avoid any situations that could be misinterpreted. I hope that in time, people will forget about the hand sanitizer incident and see me for who I truly am. I am not a germaphobe. I am just a person who made a mistake and is trying to learn from it. I also bought Sarah a very expensive box of chocolates. Hopefully, that helped a little. It was the least I could do. I still feel bad about the whole thing. The kickoff meetings are going to be hell for the foreseeable future. I am just hoping that it goes away by next year. I am not sure how much of this awkwardness I can take. And no, she didn't have the flu. It was just a cold, which somehow makes it even worse. I reacted like she had the plague. Maybe I should just quit.